Whilst many of us picture Egypt to be filled with dusty, sandy roads offset with the odd pyramid, the modern Egyptian lifestyle is far from this. Despite our primary school history lessons being filled with the process of mummification and the role of pharaohs, which are important aspects of Egyptian history, there is so much more than that hidden in the past of Egypt. Between school, the media, and Hollywood movies, there is no wonder these misconceptions are around. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be looking at 3 interesting and mysterious Egyptian discoveries that you probably missed from your time in school. Oxarinkas Paparai. The Oxarinkas Paparai are a series of manuscripts giving insights into some ancient civilizations. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, 2 papyrologists, Bernard Pine Grenfell and Arthur Surridge Hunt, uncovered this collection of manuscripts in Egypt. As professors of papyrology, the pair research, analyze, and study ancient literature, presented and preserved as a manuscript that has been recorded on papyrus. Papyrus was the sole most common writing material used within ancient civilizations, including ancient Egypt, so those who study it are aware of the society, culture, and languages of these ancient societies. Grenfell and Hunt found this extraordinary group of manuscripts nearby to Oxarinkas, an Egyptian city and well-established archaeological site. In fact, many suggest that Oxarinkas is the single most important archaeological site to have been discovered to date. More specifically, however, the pair discovered these texts in an ancient rubbish dump. Researchers have successfully dated the Oxarinkas Paparai to the Ptolemaic and Roman Egyptian eras, ranging roughly between 32 BC until approximately 640 AD, marking the Muslim conquest of Egypt. Despite the common connotations with the word manuscript, only an estimated 10% of the Oxarinkas Paparai are literary, with the majority being comprised of documents such as codes, registers, census returns, petitions, court records, accounts, and even private letters, as opposed to being extended pieces of written work. This is not uncommon in papyrology, with correspondence and legal archives being as significant an element as the literary works. Most of the Oxarinkas Paparai were written in Greek, with a great deal also being produced in Egyptian using hieroglyphics, both hieratic and demotic. Some other languages seen include Latin, Arabic, Hebrew, Aramaic, Syriac, and Pahlavi, though in decreasing percentages. This presents a grand opportunity for etymological research as well as archaeological, delving into the history and development of each of these individual languages. Since their initial discovery in 1898, over 5,000 of these documents have been transcribed, a momentous achievement considering this information stemmed from boxes filled with tiny fragments and pieces, mere centimeters large. Despite so much having been achieved, this is considered to have only 1 to 2% of the papyri accounted for, leaving a minimum of 500,000 manuscripts left to be prepared, transcribed, and deciphered before the final step, cataloguing. Today, the Oxarinkas Paparai are stored worldwide in respected institutions, including Oxford University's Ashmolean Museum. These documents have given us a whole host of information, from the written words on topics from maths to drama to religion to the practices and processes of ancient societies. Ancient Egyptians used meteorites as jewellery. A more cultural piece of research shows that from 3300 BC onwards, Egyptian jewellery-making practices have used meteorite iron. In 1911, a series of iron beads on strings were found when the Giza cemetery underwent excavation. Named the Giza bead, this is believed to be the earliest use of iron from ancient Egyptian society that we are yet to discover, with these beaded necklaces being dated between 3500 and 3600 BC, despite this being centuries prior to the Egyptian Iron Age. Initial assumptions were quick to label the necklace beads to be formed from meteorite iron, a claim supported by the nickel-rich iron composition, though this notion was not long established before it underwent criticism. In the 1980s, researchers expanded the possibilities that they may have accounted for this, considering that these iron creations were early efforts to smelt iron, not iron derived from a meteorite. A broad regional range of researchers collaborated throughout Britain, from the Natural History Museum located in London to the Open University based in Milton Keynes to the University of Manchester. The research undertaken by the British team included the use of both an electron microscope and a CT scanner to confirm the quantity of nickel in the composition of the jewellery. If the composition aligned with expectations, then this procedure can be seen as having confirmed the iron is indeed that of a meteorite. Professor Philip Withers from the University of Manchester described meteorites as having a unique microstructural and chemical fingerprint, meaning that identifying said fingerprint in Egyptian artifacts is strong evidence for meteorites having been used. This study concluded just that. This fingerprint within the 5,300-year-old Gerza beads is a result of the meteorite having been used, distinctive due to a meteorite's slow travel through space impacting its composition. Not only does this research provide important information into the makeup and tracing of meteorites, but it also allows us to see how modern equipment and technology can accelerate and improve the accuracy of these identification processes. Perhaps most importantly, we can understand the role of these materials in different societies. Dr. Diane Johnson, affiliated with the Open University's Centre for Earth, Planetary, Space and Astronomical Research, states, "Meteorite iron had profound implications for the ancient Egyptians, both in their perception of the iron in the context of its celestial origin and in early metallurgy attempts." This idea was supported by statements made by Dr. Joyce Tilsley from the University of Manchester, who suggested that whilst our modern society views iron as practical but dull, it was a rare and beautiful material to ancient Egyptians. Apparently, due to meteorites having fallen from the sky, iron was believed to have been magical or religious in its nature. There is lots to learn surrounding the practices of ancient societies, and the use of iron in ancient Egypt suggests skills and understanding centuries ahead of its time. Egypt is full of cultural and historical discoveries and mysteries, making it the beautiful country it is today. What more can we learn about its intriguing past? Plague of Cyprian. Having impacted not just Egypt but a large portion of the Roman Empire, the Plague of Cyprian has gripped the attention of many history enthusiasts over the years. This plague was deadly and devastating, spreading rapidly for almost 20 years. It began in 250 CE in the spring. At the peak of this catastrophe, upwards of 5,000 lives were lost a day in Rome alone. So, what led to the rapid spread of this disease? Warfare, attacks, and invasions of infected countries facilitated the mass spread. There were a number of Germanic tribes who invaded the Celtic Gauls, which covers modern-day France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and aspects of the present-day Netherlands, Switzerland, Germany, and Italy. Additionally, Parthians are known to have attacked Mesopotamia, an ancient territory the majority of which is formed through modern-day Iraq, and some parts of the countries we now acknowledge as Iran, Syria, and Turkey. The Plague of Cyprian was characterized by more than the illness. This period saw a drastic shift in the numbers of the population. This reduction in manpower, the size of the workforce, and otherwise coincidental circumstances was reflected through extended droughts, floods, and famine. It was Saint Cyprian himself, the Bishop of Carthage, who commented that it looked as though the world was coming to an end. Cyprian, having provided a great deal of observations and recorded details, is the namesake of this plague. His work, De Mortalitate, translated to On Mortality, has formed the knowledge both in his present and for our historians' understanding of the wildly contagious disease. He details some of the symptoms of the Plague of Cyprian, including diarrhea, vomiting, fever, loss of hearing, loss of sight, paralysis in both the legs and the feet, swelling in the throat, conjunctival bleeding, described as blood filling the eyes of sufferers, and the staining of the mouth with said blood. The vast majority of victims, unfortunately, did not survive. At the time, the pagan society deemed this to be a punishment from the gods, reflective of the early Christian belief in Mediterranean society that diseases had a supernatural foundation and origin. It was not until this tragedy was very much in the past that historians began to question and search for more scientifically valid explanations. As the search for a more valid explanation emerged, scholars have suggested this plague was one of several diseases known to have been widely present in the 3rd century, having a devastating impact upon the empire. On this list of potential candidates were the bubonic plague, typhus, cholera, smallpox, measles, and anthrax. As we gained a greater understanding throughout the centuries, we have been able to eliminate some of these possibilities. For example, a lack of swellings being a symptom reduces the likelihood of the bubonic plague. Despite much of this confusion, a significant breakthrough came in 2014. Bodies were discovered from what used to be Thebes. Here we learned that efforts had been made to prevent the plague from spreading, including covering corpses with lime and burning the bodies. Unfortunately, the hot climate of Egypt left no trace of DNA able to be extracted, suggesting we may never find a definitive answer as to what this unidentified disease was. This strange tragedy has been a topic of research for centuries and appears as though it will continue to be for years, decades, and even centuries to come. But what do you make of these 3 incredible discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.